I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Washington Parks and Recreation Committee.
Yes, sir.
And, roll call?
Bob Zurich. John Freitag. Here. Bob Kleppel.
Here.
Kevin Creedy.
Here.
Tessie Steffens.
Here.
Sparky Stuckenschneider.
Finally here.
Jeannie Miller-Wood.
Here.
Dave Waymeyer.
Here.
Betty Werner.
Here.
Gavin Woolley.
Present.
Albert. Jeff Patrick.
Here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes from the October 2nd meeting.
I make a motion. I'll second.
Motion by Betty and second by Tessie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nobody opposed. Director's report, Wayne?
All right, staff, we're winterizing the restrooms and irrigation systems all over the park system and even some of the city building complexes here. Memorial benches that were purchased this year in '24 have been shipped. We haven't received them yet, but I got notice today or yesterday that they were shipped. So we'll receive those and then get them assembled and installed. Thanks to Gavin's keen eye a couple months ago, staff did some restoration at the historic gazebo out at the lake. We put in a couple weeks there restoring rotten wood, and the whole thing kind of had settled and sank on one side, was kind of tilted on one side, and Gavin noticed it a couple months ago and pointed it out, so.
And I'd like to point out, they did a really nice job of putting that back together.
Yeah, they did. Jason St. Vermain is a really good woodworker and has done some nice work for us. And then here recently, this week, or last week, this week, we've been dealing with flooding issues, mostly in a few of the park buildings, but some of the city buildings, and then there's been some of the bank down at the river kind of sloughed off, and just a whole variety of things. City Hall had water coming up through the floor. In engineering, we have no idea where it's coming from or why it was doing that, and that lasted a whole day, and then it just stopped. And then finally,
Had there been an issue with that previous, or is this the first
well,
time?
Scott said, who's been here since 2007, that's happened 2 or 3 times before. Initially, thought it was a gutter. We're not sure what it is. I think it's water coming up from the water table, but I don't know how you stop that. No sooner than we push it out of the door or down the drain, it would just come back in. But it eventually did stop. And then I wanted to make you aware, last year, it was around Christmas time, it was a little bit into December, I think maybe after our December meeting, or during our December meeting. I came to you guys, we wanted to do a pool punch card or pool pass card visit discount for the Christmas holidays, and so we'll do that again. Same discount as last year. It was, where are we at here? It would be, so this year, November 29th through February 28th, it would be $85, and then March 1st through April 30th, $90, and then come May 1, it would be full price, $100. And so we did that same one last year, except we didn't start it until it was like mid-December by the time I got it to you guys. So if you guys are okay with that, we'll start advertising that on social media, and people seem to like that.
Do you need a motion on that, or?
Sure, yeah, you guys can do a motion for, if you'd like. I don't think we necessarily need one.
Motion for everybody.
Well,
I just kind of wanted to make you guys aware, and it sounds like you guys were all in favor of it, so.
In favor of it. I'm in favor of it.
I think we all are.
And how many punches do you get on that? Like, how many times is it
Uh,
limitless or 20?
20 visits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect, okay.
And that's all for my report. Does anyone have any questions?
Communication from the audience?
Hello?
Old business?
Old business, so Park Master Plan, I just found out, we set a date this week that the next public meeting will be held on, I don't know what day of the week it is, but January 30th. So we'll be preparing for that as we get a little bit closer after the holidays. We'll start advertising that and getting the word out.
Okay,
Mark, can I say something?
yes,
This
you
might
may.
be a little long-winded. Capital improvement sales tax expires in 2026. Okay? One of the main things that we're looking at is our auditorium, possibly turning it into something like a civic center, maybe moving our seniors out of the Elks to there, or some other configuration. The reason I'm bringing this up is we are laying the groundwork to renew that capital improvement sales tax. And in addition, in 2030, the transportation sales tax expires. So if we want to get funding on road projects, we're gonna have to renew that tax. Because all of our transportation funds are spoken from right now, up until 2030. Did I say 2020?
No, you're right.
I said it right. In 2030, all of our transportation sales tax funds are spoken for. So if we want to continue this great road improvement and building, we're gonna have to renew that tax. And we're looking at when to do that. Until I hear something different, we're probably gonna go to the voters at the same time for the both of them. And in 2026. And you folks are gonna, we're gonna ask for your help. And so, input, right now, the city is looking at how much it's gonna cost to make this road, what it's going to cost possibly to do what we want, to the auditorium. And of course, we're gonna learn more about that in March Master. Right now, I'm sure you guys know this, the first visit, that we had in the open session for our public presentation was, what, a couple months ago. They're working now to compile all the data that we gave them. And I'm sure you guys are too, very anxious to see what they have to say, because that will determine what, we put a park on the east side of town, all of those things which are gonna cost money, which are gonna come out of the capital improvement sales tax. So, and that's my long-winded version, that's all I'm gonna say. Questions?
Yes. Does the, and configuring the auditorium as far as usage is concerned, does the old pool house come into play with that, in conjunction with that?
Absolutely.
Uh,
Wayne can comment more, but right now the plan is to make the Parks Department office.
Yes, and there's money in the current year's budget to start the engineering, like, start working on a design and things like that. So the full amount's not in there. The other half would be in next year's budget, but, so.
I have a question. So with this capital improvement tax, sales tax, if after we get this report, and for example, one thing I think that we might see that the need for is I'm not gonna say it right, but some kind of a storage shed. Is that what it's called for our workers that's on the other side of town? And, right, and we wouldn't have, we might not have the land too, so let's just say we have to buy land as well, that all comes out of the capital improvement? It would. So then as a park board, like in past different groups have come forward, would we also need to do that same thing to be able to prioritize and make sure that something like that would get done? Like I get the auditorium, but if there were a couple other projects that we want, do we as a park board have to kind of get this together to make our presentation to the committee that would probably decide what projects get accepted?
Yeah, absolutely, Tessa. We're open to any and all input, you know, there.
Well, because I'm assuming there'll be a committee, right? Like there was,
Probably,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that process would still be the same as it's been in the past. So if, okay,
We need city council buy-in, we need you guys buy-in, and you get that by everybody having their.
Right. okay.
If I can piggyback off that,
Please,
we did that in 2018.
Right.
And yes, you're very much input is going to be needed for that kind of stuff, what's important in the Parks Department. And to go off what the mayor said with the transportation sales tax and why that becomes so important is because as you guys sit here, I think the back of our minds as a park board is we need a park tax. And I think to the mayor's point is that the capital improvement sales tax is so important to that new firehouse, water tower, you know, those kind of infrastructure improvements. We're trying to get those, the funds within the city to pay for those, not stormwater slip lining. That should not be in a capital improvement sales tax, in my opinion. That should pay for itself out of its own fund. The water tower for that example also. But to my point is that in an effort to not need a park tax, an additional tax, the capital improvement sales tax becomes almost like a park tax, and therefore your input is so important in that. What we did with the pool the last time, it was in the forefront of the whole entire capital improvement sales tax, but then there was also pavilions, and there was also, you know, just so many other things within the park system. I think that's kind of the priority and the top of the list all the time. So to Tessie's question, yes, your input, I'd go so far as to say as a couple of you will be on the committee if it's my input, if it's my decision. Again, Darren's working on that. Previous capital improvement sales tax committee members to bring them back. Who wants to be part of it? Do it again. Someone doesn't, you know, new members, that kind of thing. And whether that number grows, whether it stays the same, whatever. But I just want to reiterate the fact that in a need, again, my personal opinion, the transportation sales tax is so important. It just happens to be close to the same time where we're not going to voters 2 years back to back. If we do it at the same time and you sell it right, no increase, same way we've been doing it for the last 8 years and 10 years concurrently, nothing additional, all same as, but everyone's got to buy in when we sell that. So when the general public comes to you and asks another tax, no, it's not, it's the same, and this is what we want to do. This is what we can get done. That's where you guys come in. When Gavin's walking and sees the gazebo, or when you have, you know, family from out of town, you know, anything like that, it's a positive on what we need and what we're doing, so.
More importantly, of what won't get done, because there's that movement out there. East Central saw it with their bond issue not being passed.
That's right.
It's not a new tax, but it's still a tax. So the message is very important. I agree, 100%.
We understand that, John, and I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more.
Right.
It's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, but we're gonna run it like, this is what we promised you when we ran the first round of the capital sales tax. This is what we did.
Mhm.
And here's what we promised when we ran the transportation sales tax in 2005. 4 lanes to Highway 100. We did that. And here's what we are going to do. This is what it's going to cost. And this is the amount of, if we choose to go with a bond for a big road project or whatever. Here's what it's gonna take. Here's what we're gonna do afterwards. If I could, if I talk too much, please stop.
No, you can never talk to it.
05, Washington stuck its neck out big time because when we took 4 lanes for 8 miles outside our city limits, and we paid for that. It was a $46 million project, and our share was $23 million. So we went for the voters, said we're gonna need a half-cent transportation sales tax to service the bond that we left. That debt service was almost $1 million a year, okay? And I wasn't around City Hall then, but I bet you, because our economy was not as good, our town was not as big, that the sales tax generated
80%.
80%?
But we have to have that money set aside in order for them to even entertain that. You can't go 3 years out and say, we'll do that without having that reputation and that set there. So that 80-20 grant program doesn't happen if we're not in the financial situation we are.
I mean, the other thing you got to sell though too. I mean, that 4 lanes has led what development into town. I mean, Target wouldn't be here if there wasn't 4 lanes out there. That entire development. I mean, all the business that have been brought in and the tax generated as a result of that business coming in.
That's right.
Is above just the transportation tax.
And we're looking at to the west also, and we just got approved this last week for the 4-lane intersection at Oldenburg Industrial Park, which is phenomenal, and that's through MoDOT. But we don't have 4 lanes to get there from town, so that's really where, in my opinion, the next phase comes first. It's 4 lanes, at least to that, or farther, and then it's, like you said, it's the other projects throughout town. I mean, you can travel anywhere else, you're not gonna get streets in a downtown district. Front Street's gonna happen in the next year, okay? You know, heaven forbid, we're gonna get the lines buried and the streets are gonna be repaired, but Second Street, Main Street, Third Street, Jefferson, High Street, the way it looks, things are in the right direction. I'm proud to say that. But it doesn't happen without that transportation sales tax, no doubt.
So then we probably shouldn't think about a park tax for how long?
That's why I said this, no.
For how long? How long do you want us to not think about a park tax?
Well, I think you have to, again, I'm gonna tell you,
Sounds like a long time.
well, you have to think that the capital improvement sales tax is at least, I'm gonna go out on a limb and tell you, 50% or more is a parks tax.
Why, I get
It's helping the
that.
parks department,
No, I
the main
get that.
stage roof, the pool,
Oh, no,
all the
I,
money that was
I
in the last 8
understand all that,
years.
But there's also maintenance, there's also you know, I love that we get the new stuff.
That's
I
right.
love that we get the stuff, but there's also, and I'm not trying to be devil's advocate, I'm just saying, but there's also maintenance on all of that. There's also personnel. I mean, we're creative with what we're trying to do, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that we're not trying to work with whatever good of the city is, but I do think that at some point, and I get it's all important, but I just think that we still, at some point, sooner than later, but I get it where we're going, need to think of some type of a small amount.
Right.
So that there's a little consistency and we're not relying on capital improvements for all that stuff. Some of this stuff we could just do and we could maintain. I'm not even asking for new, I'm just talking like all this wonderful stuff that we've got. We gotta maintain it. We're gonna put a great roof on that stage and it's needed and it's gotta be maintained.
Right.
Tessie, right now you have a very receptive council that understands that we need to make a commitment to parks. I get it, but that might not be the case in the future.
Right.
Which makes having a parks tax, in place even more important going forward. I can't promise you we're gonna do that.
No, I know.
Okay, we have to coordinate with East Central, we have to coordinate with the school district, because they're gonna go before voters too. So, when it's gonna happen, I wish I could give you more
Well,
information, but for now, you gotta trust the mayor and the council that you have to use that capital improvement sales tax money to keep things going, but I get it.
Can you tell us what percent we've got in the last X number of,
That'd be a good.
I was trying to do it in my mind, Sparky, but I'm gonna miss out a project.
That would
with
be
I
the-
mean,
good. I'd like
it
to
would
know
be
that.
interesting to know that amount,
Well,
because
and
that
what's
would
difficult
have- that
is
would-
in 2017, when we discussed what was gonna be in the capital improvement, what was gonna be promised, your Ronzik Field turf, the swimming pool,
Correct.
the main stage roof, pavilions, Phoenix Park Playground was
Skate
250,000 in there.
Skate park,
Skate park was 100,000.
main park playground.
So, other than, if you want to include the auditorium upgrades in the parks, in the pool, the old pool house,
Correct.
those, I said 50 a while ago, I bet it's 75 or 80% that's gone to parks. Now, the firehouse was gonna be 2.5 million, and now it's 5. So, for me to do the math and remember what we thought in 2018 we were gonna spend, in 2024, everything has doubled in that price. The firehouse did, the main stage did, and that doesn't even count what the chamber put into it. We spent, instead of 385, it was 7+ that the city did for the main stage roof. So all those, the inflation numbers get out of control because you can't even, you can backtrack and say, we got a good deal on the pool because we built that in 2019. You know what I mean? But
I hear what
put the
you're
pen to
saying.
numbers,
You're-
I'm just thinking
you're-
off the top of my head, Sparky, but yeah, there's, I mean,
If you go back, if you go back, and I might be able to do this when we get into the committee, when the committee gets going, but those 8 years since, every 8 years since, I think it was 89, is when it started. And I don't know if 2018, what's in this current 8 years, if it was an anomaly but if you go back a couple of them, you'll see like, just right, this current year, capital improvement sales tax that we're in was heavily loaded with, park projects. If I had to guess, I'd say, I mean, I can't even remember, other than the firehouse, I can't even remember another project that's really coming out of there, but, I would say maybe 75% of that is, maybe a little less than that, I don't know, but if you go back a couple sales tax, even maybe the last one before that, I mean, you might be hard pressed to even find 50%, and most of the time it was less than that. As further you go back, it's less and less and less, because they were doing water towers and all kinds of other things. And I know the city administrator, since I've been here, that's one thing he's preached over and over in the last 6 years, is that we're taking things like that out of the capital improvement sales tax, and those things should pay for themselves, and which then gives parks more money or more projects and things like that. So that's been good. And then the recreational marijuana tax has helped. Last year it paid for one full-time staff and the park master plan, and it gave the communications department some money. And then this year it's paying for I think 2 full-time maintenance personnel, and depending on how things go, maybe another one, so we'll see, but,
so to your point, Tessie, that's exactly right. I mean, that's,
Right.
but that's where the mayor, the council, even city administrator, they know that. And that's why the marijuana tax was earmarked to
Right.
that.
Right.
And then it's also, when it comes budget time, there is a lot more maintenance in the parks. So, I mean, not saying it doesn't get scratched, but Wayne's budget for the parks has increased because of maintenance costs and things like that also too. But it doesn't fix it all, but that's on the forefront, I guess is what I'm saying, that it costs maintenance there to take care of this.
Well, I know, I'm just thinking, and I get it, I understand that, but it's like what was it? A year ago, they wanted us to do something to the old tennis courts out in the fairgrounds. And I mean, it's like, well, we can put that down on a list maybe somewhere, you know what I mean? And so there are times, and I get this, so I'm with you guys, but I'm just saying, there are times when people come forward and ask for things that maybe if, at the time, when it's right, we have a park tax, we can just go do and fix. I mean, that little tennis court needs to be torn down and completely redone. I mean, we've tried to do everything to it, but they wanted more pickleball there, and they wanted this. And I mean, it would just be nice if there was some money. I appreciate everything that they've given, because from the very beginning of that capital improvement tax, you're right, more and more projects have come to the parks to get done for the enjoyment of the community, and there's nothing better than that. I was just curious, so I'm just getting the gist, and I understand that now you're saying we just need to wait a while, so that's what,
Before you finish, Tess?
yep.
Before we move on, I'd like to point out that the Parks Master Plan needs to dovetail into this, as far as wants and needs for the tax is concerned, is gonna be very important.
I just have one comment. I did a study on a magazine that Wayne had given me some time ago. I can't remember, 4 or 5 years ago. But at that time, we were in the minority as far as sales tax are concerned. Better than 55% of the local communities have a sales tax. So, the parks
Yeah.
tax, I'm sorry, yeah. So, that's just a comment but I don't know how many of those have a capital improvement
Right,
tax
yeah.
either.
If you can pass a transportation sales tax and the
Yeah.
and the capital improvement sales tax,
Yeah.
and promise me that's gonna get passed again, then we can entertain talking about a parks tax. How about that?
It is,
Good point.
I would say that's true, and I've said it, probably to some of you guys, that other cities, from what I understand, because in some cities, you know, it's not the half-cent sales tax or the parks or whatever the sales tax is for the parks. Not all of them are forever. Some of them do sunset like every 8 years. So
You have to vote
it
on it.
is kind of like, our capital improvement sales tax is kind of like a park tax. It just sunsets every 8 years. And then you've got to prove yourself.
Right.
So it definitely helps.
Okay. Was that under Parks Master Plan?
Yep.
This
Yes,
came
that
up?
was, that's good.
Okay. The free tree campaign, update on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an update. So things are looking a little better. We didn't have quite the response that we expected on this, but we ordered 50 trees, and Janie purchased 50 trees for the residents. And if I had to guess, I think I gave one away today.
There's 11 left.
I think there's less than that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
good.
I think there
I
might
think
be
there's 11.
maybe 8 or so left. So
They're good.
they're getting in the ground.
That's good.
So
Very
yeah.
good.
And the one because I wasn't there for the big giveaway or whatever, and we have so many plants and trees out there. When I go by, I just kind of blend in there at the shop. But I personally delivered one today, a sweet gum, and I was thinking, oh, no big deal. I got a truck. I'll just tie it. You know, it won't be much taller than the cab. And if I would have tied it, if I would have delivered it that way, it would have probably broke the tree in half. I had to lay it over, and then it still stuck out the back of my truck like 3 feet.
Gorgeous trees.
Yeah.
And I took it to the person's house. I set it next to their porch. It was taller than their porch.
Awesome.
The trees were great. The funniest thing was we had the guy that came with the sunroof.
With the what?
He
Sunroof?
came with the sunroof, and we stuck the tree through the sunroof to get out. We got really good comments because they were huge trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Trail Connection?
Trail connection, so we're doing 2 phases. The restroom phase is phase 1, and that'll get going here sometime soon. And then phase 2 would be next year, late summer, very early fall, hopefully, would be the actual parking lot and the trail connection. And then in conjunction with that, the renovation of the Flag Plaza. Today I got the notice to proceed from DNR on design, and then Monday I have a final design meeting. We gotta get them the restroom plans, and so DNR has to approve the plans, make sure everything's ADA compliant and things like that, since there's federal money going towards this. And then they have to approve the bid documents to make sure we're on the up and up on that, and then we can get it bid out and start construction sometime this winter. With that said, I don't know that, this is my first time doing a big grant like this, and nothing is fast. So it could be, I was hoping to have the bathroom open by the first sunset on the riverfront, which is the last Thursday in April of '25. And I think we'll be pushing that. So more to come on that, but it is moving along just slowly.
Will the existing restroom facilities be open during construction, or will that shut down?
I think it'll shut down, but I mean, that's a possibility. We could try to keep them open, but we're adding on to family change restrooms, but we also are doing some upgrades in the existing ones too. We're adding another toilet and urinal and some stalls, and just to make it look a little, that restroom has needed an improvement for a long, long time, especially with all the functions we have down there. And this is our chance to do it, so we want to, trying to squeeze as much as we can into renovating it instead of tearing it down and starting over.
Okay, new business. We'll start with the main
Bless you.
stage roof.
So main stage roof is, I got a new construction schedule this week. I asked for an update since we had park board this week. And so if you've been out there, demo's been going on, excavation's been going on. And I found out with the new construction schedule, the steel will be here it was December 15th, now it's January 6th. And then that still puts them, according to their schedule, finished by April 7th. So we'll see. But things are moving along there, just slowly but surely.
Pavilion at Miller Post?
Miller Post Pavilion, so that's been moving along too. That's another slow project, not anything that we can fix, but a couple things now. They were making good progress when the weather was nice in September and October. Four Rivers has 2 groups of students coming out there every day that they're able to come out there, working on it. And the posts are up. They have 1 set of trusses up, I believe, right?
Last I was in there, and the Miller Post right now is closed to the public,
Right.
so I've been obeying for a change.
That's unusual.
You're not public.
They,
I go twice a
Believe
day.
that.
the last I saw, they had one gable,
Or one gable, yeah.
truss.
I think that's where, and then we got all the rain, and now it's closed for hunting, so. Speaking of that, there will be a couple, per the covenants, a couple people up there hunting, this year, descendants of, Millers and Posts. So that's why it's closed, and there's no students going up there right now, so. And it will reopen. This is one thing we worked on. There's an advisory board for that piece of property, and we've been meeting here. My first number of years, we didn't really meet much, but now we've been meeting more regularly. And on a typical year, it would be closed from November, because every year it was different. And sometimes we were closed just 2 weeks of hunting, and sometimes it was closed the whole month of November. And we wanted to have more consistent, so going forward, what was agreed on in the covenants, and then it'll eventually go to city council here in the next month or so, that would be closed November 1st to the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Or
Tuesday.
it would, yeah, Tuesday before Thanksgiving, so we, the park staff, can open it on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That way, if people are home for the holidays, they can go up there and walk around, things like that. So that's what we didn't get quite closed on November 1st this year, because our meeting was like November 4th or something like that, or 6th. And I wanted to make sure that the board was okay with it. And so it is closed now, and then it will reopen on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So if anyone asks. And we have signage up and everything.
Speaking of signage report?
Yes, so I've seen one of the preliminary or the first draft of the park master plan. And I knew it was gonna say this. Says a lot of our stuff is, not everything, but some of the stuff is not signed very well. Sparky, you can probably attest to this on like the Greenway, Bush Creek Greenway, and different things. And one of the biggest things is like the Cole Miller House doesn't have any signs on it. From the street or anywhere. There's one little plaque if you walk all the way up there, a historic building plaque on it. But so you'll see another one was when they redid the bridge and we redid the trail. MoDOT, I asked MoDOT to leave the 2 chunks of pier there, and I always had intention of putting a like educational sign on that. I'm surprised no one has ever asked me like, why the hell are those 2 piers, those big pieces of concrete just sitting there? And so we got a sign made and put up, and people, at least from the response on Facebook, seemed to like that. So that was good. And then I have some signs ordered for the Cole Miller House. Really nice. I think you guys will be impressed with the signs. Wood looking, they'll be mounted on the wooden fence down at the bottom next to the street. So people you don't have to walk up the hill to read them or anything like that. And then this winter, one of my projects will be better signage on the Greenway and Miller Post. We have some new trails up there that aren't signed and things like that. So, but that did come up in the park master plan. That was one of the things. So trying to knock out some of the low-hanging fruit right off the bat.
Good deal.
I don't want to overstep here, Wayne, but at last night's Historic Preservation Committee meeting, they approved paying for one of the signs that have the history of the Cole Mueller House on it
Nice.
through their budget.
Yes.
Pretty good.
No, I'm glad that was a
I didn't-
last minute
if you knew
thing
that
that
or
came
that-
up,
yeah.
yeah.
So that
And
was
Sarah just gave me an update this
in
morning.
that meeting last night, they discussed that. They have a, basically a sign program similar to this on something that's historical, and that was talked about. They had pictures of it last night, so there'll be some proofreading with it, but,
Yeah, I got those
Um,
fixed.
yeah. So what a good correlation between two organizations like that. So when they said they'd pay for the history sign, Park pays for the sign that says Cole Mueller House. I
I
think
assume their sign will be up next, close to the buildings?
No, we're gonna remove that evergreen tree that's there in front of the fence. There's, on each side of the driveway, there's that fence.
Yeah.
And the one side, the left side closest to all of Billy's has that one evergreen there. We're gonna remove that, and the educational sign will be on that fence,
Okay.
and the
So you can read it,
entryway sign will be
read
on the
it
other
before you
side.
go to the
Yeah.
building?
Or at least people can stop there if they're walking, or even pull over there and read it, instead of having to walk up the hill.
Thank you.
Okay, rental and program.
Yeah, in your packet, you had some reports, including the pool report. Seems like the newspaper's always asking for it, but I don't see anyone here. And so, for 2024, their daily fees were up a little bit over 23. Programming was up a little bit over 23, but overall, our revenue was down 6,000. But attendance was up by like 3,000, which is good. But then our expenses have also gone up with the guarding, and they're paying $15 an hour for guards and things like that. So overall, no big surprise. We're still losing money at the pool. But attendance was up. I mean, the newspaper asked me at one point if I thought it was going to be up, and I did, because June, if you remember, June was really hot and dry, and that's your first month. If it's always hot and dry, that's when you sell all your memberships and everything like that. Casey, I don't think you can close that. Yes, public
Yeah, you
meeting.
have to
Yeah.
And so, yeah, attendance was up. And then I'll point out, if, on the one that says 2024 pool admission numbers, if you look at June 1st to the 30th, we had basically 6,300 check-ins, membership check-ins, which is 3,500 more than 2023. So that tells you how hot people were really coming to the pool in June. It was hot and dry. And then our Fair Week attendance, we always kind of watch that, because, in the past, we were always closed during the fair, but we were up 65 people this year over last year. So,
Can I ask a question about lines 1 and 2, the discrepancies from 23 to 24?
which one are
The
you looking at?
the management, maintenance fees, and the guarding.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, their fees went up, and they continue to go up.
But the maintenance fee actually is down in 24. I'm reading 85 in 23 and then 55 in 24, but then the guarding went up.
Guarding's way up, or quite a bit up. Where are we at? Expenses. Guarding, oh, there it is. I don't know, I bet you another number got combined in there. I'd have to look at the
Chemicals broken out.
contract,
different-
from last year from 23 to 24.
I figured it was something internal, that something just
Yeah.
got shifted into a
I did
different
not
column.
notice that. But yeah, I can check on that to make sure that's accurate. And then, speaking of the pool, the slide's on its way. We'll have another slide this year, so I think people will hopefully we'll see our numbers continue to go up a little bit this year with that new attraction. And then back to the reports, if there's no other questions about pool, we got a facility pavilion rentals. Thought that was interesting. I've never seen a report ran like this where it shows you all the renters for each pavilion. And I was surprised, Casey and I were talking, that the Lions Lake Pavilion number 2 is more popular than, I would have figured number 3, which is closest to the main stage, would be more popular than number 2. Casey thought maybe it was because of volleyball, sand volleyball pits next to that pavilion. So I don't know. But that's our rental numbers for all our facilities that we rent out, including the senior center, amphitheater, auditorium. And then finally, I had Robin gave me some day camp programming numbers, I should say. So there's Camp Washington fees for each, not fees, totals, numbers, kids, for each week. And we're pretty consistent on that from year to year. Usually we service about 400 kids. And it's not 400 different kids. It's, a lot of those same kids are there all 8 weeks. And then her most recent event, very big event, very popular event, which is on Main Street. We had 385 people show up for that, which is great. So, it's
Great job.
downtown on a weekday when there's maybe not a whole lot going on, downtown on a weeknight, and it was packed. And lots of people had a good time, I can tell you. So, any questions about any of the reports or anything else that we went over? Yes.
Okay, December 6th, we're inviting all of you to come to the Angel of Hope. It'll be at 7 p.m., same day every year. And, when Jeff said that about the signage, I'm thinking in my mind, nobody knows the origin of the Angel of Hope. They don't know that there's 130 other cast bronze statues like that. So maybe over the course of the next year, I'll get some people together, and maybe we can put something out there so we can
We could do an
explain,
educational sign.
the concept of the Angel of Hope. And, if any of you guys can come, we'd really love to have you, because we've had a lot of loss in our community this year, and of kids, and so we'd like to invite you, and it's about an hour, that's all. And I had somebody stop me on the street the other day, and they said, remember during the pandemic when we had the Angel of Hope in the soccer parking lot?
No.
And we all stayed in our cars, but we still had, the spirit of remembering our children. So it's a very dedicated group of people who show up, and would like to invite you.
If, Betty, I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but on the city website, we have a link for the Angel of Hope. And over the last couple of years, as I've been educating myself on it and doing a little research here and there, we've added, one of our interns, Logan, made a layout. There's a map of all the bricks that's on there now, which is great. And then I found on a different website, I think Belleville's, they have a statue, but they had an Excel sheet with the location of all the other statues in the world.
Good, thank you.
And so we were able to add that to our website, and just different things like that. But even during American in Bloom, one of the judges said, "Oh, you should have a sign with a QR code up there that."
Yeah.
As people, because we had to explain, he's like, this is not signed very well. And we're like, well, it's meant to be like a quiet place, kind of out, off on its own. We didn't want a lot of people up there. We didn't want kids up there trying, vandalize it or anything like that. And he said, well, you should have a QR code where people could just, if they're walking by, scan it and find out how much a brick costs and things like that. So that's on my to-do list.
Okay.
So.
And just so that you all know, we do have a fund where if someone is unable to purchase mostly it's for babies, because younger couples don't necessarily have the amount. We have a fund where we supply the brick for them so that they can have their brick. And there's 350 plus bricks out there now.
Wow. I saw a guy up there the other day. It was real quiet up there. He was taking a picture of the statue and some of the bricks, and he was just sitting on the patio there and just taking different pictures and things. So.
So pretty.
Any other questions, comments?
I've got a comment, if I may.
You always do.
That's why we
Good-
love you.
A good friend of mine is on the Jefferson City Park Board. And he came down here this spring, and I took him around to our parks, and he was hugely impressed. a couple weeks ago, Annette and I went up to Jeff City, and he reciprocated, and we toured their parks. And they've got a half-cent sales tax supporting their parks. They also are the beneficiaries of some donations from the Missouri Department of Conservation. When they get no longer have a use for something, Jefferson City is right in line to inherit those. But Annette and I were talking on the way home, and their parks are very, very nice, but they don't have the pizzazz that our parks have. And we talked about it, and we scratched our heads, and we finally came up, it's our landscaping and plantings that set our parks off. They, you know, it was noticeable. It took us a while to figure it out, but it was noticeable, and the staff of the Parks Department needs to be recognized and patted on the back for a job well done. One more thing I will point out, when I walked into Stu's house, the first thing he did is hand me their master plan book and said, "You need to have one of these." So we're on the right path.
Good.
One more thing. Did the fair do well enough? Is there still an agreement between the city and the Chamber Fair Board to where when they reach a certain dollar amount, we get a share in part of the profits?
Yes.
Did we reach that this year?
I don't know. We don't usually find out officially until January. They have I forget what meeting it is in January, and that's usually when we find out.
Okay. And if we hit that, do we have a project in mind?
I have to go back and look at all the conversations and bits and pieces. I can't remember if any of that money was pledged to a specific project or not.
I don't remember exactly, but there was, don't quote me on this, there was a conversation on what the chamber did, their portion to the main stage roof.
That's what I was thinking too.
Okay. Makes sense.
I've sat through so many lunch meetings, I couldn't even tell you, but I know that was kind of part of their deal to, if they would give $300,000 and their average yearly payback to the city was 30, if he would offset that for 10 years, that was kind of an offer, but I can't promise you that was ever exactly set, but that was at least a conversation I was in, so I don't want to overspeak, but that's.
Because I think in the past, I know the pathway on the dam was part of that. And
was
I
one.
assume the pickleball courts were also,
Yeah, the pavilion, yep.
Swine Pavilion was a couple years, or the
Yeah, we
addition to
did
the
some-
Swine Pavilion was like a couple years in the making at that time. So, yeah, I don't know a number, but,
Yeah, what I can't remember is if this check that we're gonna be getting, and I'm assuming, I'm fairly confident we'll be getting something. If it was, I'd have to ask the city administrator if it was, cause I was always involved in all those talks and lunch meetings and everything, cause there's so many of them. If that was committed to the roof project, or if that was, I just need to find out where we fell on that, so.
just thought I'd ask. I'm finished, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Gab. I have a question. The area on at Ninth and International where they used to have rugby and this thing,
Oh, yeah.
is that the parks?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is-
Yeah, that's part of Burger Park, yeah,
Okay.
the big field.
Is there anything that we're doing to make use of that property, or would it be?
No, I mean, rugby used it there for a while. We've tried to offer it to soccer and they didn't want it. You know, it's too far away, there's no bathroom. We have tried to reduce our maintenance a little bit on it by not mowing the entire thing. So if you look like the back corner, we kind of stopped mowing and things like that, but the majority, we're still mowing like probably 80% of it. And then one portion of it, closest to the creek, is a mitigated wetland from Walmart. And last winter, we cleared that all out. It had a bunch of honeysuckle and Bradford pears and different things in there. But other than that, right now, it's just green space.
Okay.
I've seen it used as passive, like a passive park. I mean, I've seen people playing football or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Nothing, it's not structured, it's just people going out
Right,
and using
it's
it.
used,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's nice green space.
And that's good.
yeah.
Yeah, the trails.
Mr. Chairman, I will just say this, and I can't speak for the mayor, but I'll speak. Thank you guys for what you do, because to be here and to have the subjects and the topics you talk about, every one of you care about the parks, but from my standpoint, it's easy to go back to the council with what the Parks Department recommends, because you're here, you show up, you do, you care, and that means, that goes a long way. And I know I've said that before, my vote goes for what you guys say, but it does. Whether we go off topic and talk about something else, it's on the forefront of your minds, and you guys, you know that. We chuckle at Gavin because he walks the park, he knows everything, but that's so important. It's a lot, it really is. When, you know, you talk about trees and Dave knows, and, you know, you guys, you're a special group, let me tell you, it is. And I haven't been home yet, I came from work, but I don't miss because you guys care, and it shows. So again, thank you for attending and doing, and again, looking forward to as far as the sales tax and capital improvement sales tax and your help, just to piggyback what the mayor said, because your opinions, what you guys talk about go a long way. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Very nice of you. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Gavin? And second by Jeannie? All in favor? See you on December the 11th or the 6th.
Thank you.
Oh, for a minute, I'm like, what do you, oh, the 6th, oh, got it, forgot.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
That's all right.
Which one's that?